Hey everybody, and welcome to the third and probably final part on our video on the Elite Dungeon 3 release, the Shadow Reef, the quest, and this time we're talking about all of our kind of collective thoughts on it. We've done our first impressions. We've complained and whined in Discord. We've talked about the things we liked also on Discord and Twitter. And now it's time for the final review of the entirety of the Shadow Reef, the Curse of the Black Stone, and every little thing in between. Today, I am joined by Avernic.
Yes, I'm here.
And Crondis.
Oh my god, I'm actually...
He's alive!
I can't believe it.
I guess technically this is a podcast episode, but it's on and make it just part 3, so whatever.
Podcast totally isn't dead or anything, guys.
No,
Weekly.
we're gonna do it.
We're there
There's
weekly.
just not a lot of updates to talk about as of
Updated the
more
year?
to talk about as of late. Yeah, I would probably call Shadow Reef itself update of the year.
No, I'd call it mining smithing, but
I just really love these dungeons, okay?
I see that. Well,
If only it didn't come with such a terrible quest.
It was a weak quest. Very weak quest, and we're gonna get into that
yes, we are.
more, because we've gotten into it a lot already.
We've had a
in
lot
other
of thoughts. We've had a
locations.
lot of people to talk with about it and gotten other thoughts.
Indeed.
So,
Yeah, we're going to kind of go in order. We're going to talk about Curse of the Black Stone as a quest, how it fits into the other 2 elite dungeons. We're going to talk about the flow of the quest, the pacing, and then we're going to talk about Avernic and Wise Seidel, who joined us in-game in the dungeon play video. Each of them have kind of come up with their own little rework of sorts of how the quest perhaps could be improved. And then we're going to complain a lot, according to my attendance. Then we're going to talk about Elite Dungeon 3. Then we're going to talk about the books. And then whine about the goddamn Halloween events bullshit again. Period.
it's a good schedule you
Let's
set.
do it. Thank you. I try.
All
I'll
right.
also add that the complain line is in all caps.
You said actually it's complained so hard, but
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Complain so hard. No period.
to be exact of what you wrote. But
Yeah, to be specific. All right. So let's leap into it. So, Curse of the Black Stone is a master level quest
mhm.
that has the requirements impressing the locals, 12 agility and 30 forward.
The absolute bare minimum.
Yeah.
This is the world we live in now, where we're gonna see how
Yes.
it goes without enforcing quest requirements. And
However, you do have to play Temple of Amanishi, the Dragonkin Laboratory, and the Shadow Reef during the course of this quest. So, yeah,
Yes.
sure, it's a master quest.
yes,
Um,
agreed. But
yeah.
I think that the lack of requirements and being okay with not having the requirements and putting in story elements ended up hurting the quest a bit because
Yeah.
everything got thrown in.
Especially considering what was included in this quest. So, the
Everything.
suggested requirements are Slisky's Endgame and Pieces of Hate. I really think Pieces of Hate should have been a hard requirement.
I do too. Also, it's missing
and
some
one of
suggest.
a kind should have been a hard requirement.
That's very important, yeah, or at least reiterated as its own suggested.
I agree.
Also, Death of
Um,
Chivalry.
Death of Chivalry very much should have been on there.
Also, Beneath Cursed Tides.
Beneath Curse, no,
No,
just cut that part.
just cut it from the quest.
Just cut it completely.
Also, Final Destination.
Yeah, Final Destination should have been on there too, especially since you wander into Gongdong and it's like, ooh, we defeated the Jingyaoshi, but for people that haven't done Final Destination, it's still wandering around.
I might have also put Tales of the God Wars.
I probably,
Because she
I don't
does
know.
talk about how she was born in Zaros and all that, and
that's fair, I guess.
feel like it's
yeah.
if it's just suggested. I mean, it's don't have to do it. So unsure there, but anyways, yeah. So not many requirements, but you'll find out soon enough that if you start them with the bare minimum requirements, you're probably not getting past the Temple of Amanishi.
You gon' get fucked.
Even in
quite
story
frankly.
mode, if you start with, 34 woodcutting, you're not gonna make. Woodcutting's just so important to the dungeon.
Yeah, you're gonna have some trouble traveling through Broomhaven, that's for sure.
So you start with Brill, who says that the world's gonna end, because
I believe her exact statement was, I was hoping I would bump in. I have a bit of a problem. It's the end of the world.
Yeah. So that's a way to start a quest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't feel like Brill has any stakes prior other than she stands in front of the dungeons as a gameplay mechanic. But
We also talk about how funny it is. How she talks about how she has this like network of informants around the
yeah,
world
why?
looking for strange portents and omens. What?
And one of them's like this disavowed pirate from
And one of them
Far
happens
East.
to be Captain or Madam Shi. Like what?
Uh, I don't know. She's not a spy master.
It's a very
Or pirate.
confusing
I don't know.
change for Brill.
It's something. It's to make the plot happen.
It does have a great line early on, though. My informant is a mysterious resident of the Ark. I've only ever spoken to them via letter and carriers. That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
But literally, like, they call themselves the Jade Spider, and I immediately go, oh, that's Madam Shi.
Yeah. It was obvious if you've played Pirate Pieces of Hate, but
Yeah.
Now we have to dawdle around the Ark for a bit and go to way too many islands. I get that she was trying to hide herself, but it just felt awful to go island to
I
island
even
to island.
understand why, technically. You know, like, she's afraid, and I get it. The temple has a very wide reach.
Right, but it sucks to play.
But here I've got two separate different problems with it. So first, remember what happens when we arrive on
Yeah, there's just Crassians
We
there.
have to kill a bunch of Crassians. So she goes through all of this effort to hide herself. We arrive on Goshima, and the ambassador already knows she's fucking there. What?
Yeah.
Like, that really kind of threw me off. Like, what's the whole point of all of this weird, like, ridiculous... Oh, it just makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, okay, granted, the entire quest all the way through has funny scenarios and dialogue, for
Yeah,
sure,
really.
in spades. But it's all filler. 100%, like the turtle's funny. And that and all, but
I even like
yelling
that
about the
they
gods and
use-
stuff, and
I even like that they use Sea Witch Kaula. I thought that was cool.
yeah, I mean,
Kind of fits the whole thing that she's been doing.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it all, I guess, makes Sensei Seaworth, I don't know, maybe.
Like, the
Just-
whole start mostly makes sense. I mean, it really messes with Brill's character pretty aggressively,
Mm-hmm.
but like the whole thing of hunting for her is at least fun.
It at least makes so it's we're gonna say it's an all right start to the quest here, even though it sucks to play, but we get it because it was
We
thrown together.
fairly enjoyed it as a whole as we were playing it initially.
It got
It wasn't until afterwards where it really started to kind of fall apart.
right. I think we were okay with the first part. The second part we're like, it's kind of backtracking, and the third part's like, what the fuck.
Yeah.
But
But anyway, you go through all of that. You find the turtle. There's a bunch of hilarious dialogue there.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. And then you go to Sensei Seaworth after you get the note from the turtle,
Uh-huh.
which has a
So
note
we
to
can,
you
so we can island hop again.
with another set of mysterious text you have to kind of solve. It was very strange.
Yeah. You're just going from island to island to island to island.
Yeah,
I feel just to go to islands.
It's
at this
boring
point.
arc quest.
It's such, yeah. And then finally you kill the Crassians in Gashima, and you're allowed to go in Gongdong finally, which never gets
Yay.
said by name in the quest.
Never.
What's the only reference, like in one or two port missions, and like the description on the ports map?
Well, and then also your crew says it on the dock.
Oh, okay, at least there's that. I think
I think the best part is when the Crassian falls, you hear a clonking, clicking noise coming from the gate into Goshima. No, it's into Gongdong.
you're on Gashima.
Yeah, you're on Goshima going into Gongdong.
Learn to geography.
Yes.
But yes, and then inside we find Madam Shi, who tells you about Elite Dungeon 1. So you go do Elite Dungeon 1. And that
She
is
literally gives you this massive lore dump that's like ancient creature in service to something dark and terrible. Tendrils of corruption infecting the temple.
Mhm.
And like I like the fact that she infiltrated it and she escaped and now
Yeah,
she's here
and
trying.
that was good lore in Temple of Amnesia.
Yeah, like most of that was good. Though I mean the last line is pretty funny. It won't be an easy fight, but you're the World Guardian. I'm sure you can handle
Oh yes,
it. Yeah.
sure.
So
And here's where gameplay happens, which we've done before, so we didn't end up doing it. And
we skipped it.
maybe it does change the quest, but I feel like it's also a huge jarring change between running from NPC to NPC to NPC and finally have like this combat gauntlet and then do
Yeah.
NPC to NPC to NPC.
I mean, I think mostly flow-wise for the first part, it's fine.
The first
You go through a little
third-
investigation, you kind of puzzle together where you need to go, You go there, and then she sends.
Mm-hmm.
It's all mostly contained within the arc. You do a little island hopping,
And it's relevant at least.
Yeah, and it's all fairly relevant to the story. I would have really liked if there was some kind of like combat encounter or something where
There's the Crassians.
like no. So you arrive on Gongdong, and instead of there being or on Goshima, and outside of Gongdong, instead of Crassians, there was a bunch of Temple of Amanishi mobs there.
Oh, that would be way more great.
Because what are the Crassians doing hunting around? It's the people in the temple who are looking for her.
Yeah, that would have been awesome too. That
So
would
we get the less exciting version.
I would have even taken like waves, like building up. But...
Yeah, that would have been great. But so you defeat it. You tell she everything that's going on deep inside. With
Seiryu and Everlat.
I feel like she already knew about Seiryu though.
She was on the she was on the council, so
I would think, but I want to check her book real quick while we keep talking.
Okay. I feel like the whole council was like the ones guarding Seiryu, not letting Eli in. But perhaps
LA,
not.
you mean?
LA, whatever is her. Is it him or her? They're
her. She's a her. She's Shrine Maiden LA.
Okay, I forgot her title in Shadow Reef. Because I kept reading it as Eli, so I'm like, yeah, Eli. But so after the temple, we end up. So Seiryu's dialogue got changed, and I get why they did it, because they wanted a reason for the quest to exist between Elite Dungeons 1 and 2 instead of Seiryu just sending you to Elite Dungeon 2. But it feels like that was a retcon made just to
tell this story.
I mean,
it feels like a worse retcon because they run us around for no reason.
If it had done something interesting, I would have been more okay with it. But the next part of the quest is literally just running around, just to be told you were running around for nothing. Just go here.
It's one of a kind too with less mechanics.
Yeah, it's just one of a kind. Like
my problem is I find dialogue to be worse than Seiryu's old dialogue.
Yeah, so I can safely say that she did not know about Seiryu.
Okay.
Because at the end she follows Masuda deeper inside. She wanted to know who the patron was, and she finds herself in Ulfen Kreith and sees Masuda meeting with the. So that was the big moment where it was like, oh shit, and then she runs.
Gotcha.
So I'm cool with that. That's fine.
Yes. So.
But yeah, it's Seiryu that kind of should not have been changed.
Yeah, it's something that happened, I guess. But anyway, we get given a piece of black stone. It's made of black stone, right? It's just a black map, like black stone that is black. I'm confused. We get a piece of stone that's a map.
Yeah, we get a piece of a map. Let's see.
I thought it was black stone.
A strange tablet. It seems that the black stone is it's not even a black stone tablet. It's just a tablet that happens to mention black stone.
Oh, okay. And for some reason, a tablet related. I mean, no, I don't know why this tablet's on Amanishi. Like,
I don't either.
Who dropped it? No one.
Seems the black stone is not a recent discovery. In fact, it was discovered a long time ago.
Who goes to the Dragonstone Temple? Dragon Laboratory.
See, I was kind of hoping it would be inside the chest.
But it wasn't. It was in the shore.
It was on the shore.
The chest from Pieces of Hate is never brought up. Rabbit Jack is never brought up.
No, he's really.
These are just things that happened. So we get the map, which we then bring to Mordot, which we then bring to Demonheim to reopen Karapak's lab from One of a Kind, which we have to.
No, we go to Fair Rock Museum first.
Yes, and Mordot.
Talk to Mordot.
Talk to Mordot, who then sends us to Demonheim.
We go to Demonheim, talk back to Brill again, and she says she heard this place was built on top of ancient dragonkin structures, but she's never seen a way inside. There's a fountain that's been in the ruins since forever. It looks older than some of the other stuff. Might be a good place to.
It's so like matter of convenience with this stuff because
so heavy-handed.
And if you've done the suggested requirement, you've been in there before, and the quest is assuming you have done this. You know the suggested. Oh my god! Not to mention we then cut Dragonstone without 65 crafting, so. You know, there's that. That should be a suggested requirement, is a high level of crafting. I don't know. Why even use a Dragonstone if you're not going to require the level? Why not use, like, a piece of rock or a sapphire? I don't get it. And then we go into Karapak's lab, where we just happen to find Hannibus, who's come by to say wait, what does he say if you didn't have him help get the cure?
You know, I'm actually not sure. Let me see if I can find
For me
something.
and you, he just said thank you. He was coming by to thank Karapak because he woke up in Varrock one day with the cure, which is a way to resolve it, I guess, or move past that problem. So
He woke up in Edgeville, I believe, actually.
That was Varrock.
Because that matters at all.
I mean, that would be close to King Black Dragon at least.
But what I really love about this is no matter how he wakes up, because I don't see any difference in dialogue. Probably because there isn't a difference in dialogue, because if there was, it would have actually had to have checked if you've done the quest or not.
Correct. Apparently there's a change in the dialogue for if you haven't done the quest to make it a little easier to understand whose Hannibus is, but
I love it because you walk in there and he goes, yeah, I just have this weird piece of some ancient map. I have no idea what it's for.
Yeah. And then a really questionable thing happens. I mean, we go to Brimhaven, which is not that questionable, and we do the whole Adamant Dragon thing and find the map, just to go back to Karapak's lab so the effigy could talk to us. Why did we leave?
I think, where the backtracking of the quest really, really hits.
Why did we go to Brimhaven if the answer was just where we were? And what we did was for nothing, and Brimhaven was for nothing. It was just to add stuff.
So, I know that I'm very outspoken in this, but I'm not a very big fan of the one-of-a-kind quest in the first place. I think it does a very bad job of objective seeking, because it kind of sets an objective, and then you go there, and it turns out it was all pointless.
Correct. And you
this
just
quest does the exact same thing.
Yes.
And it drives me crazy. We go through all of this effort, running around, dealing with things, gathering these pieces, and then after all of this work, all of it, we head all the way over, investigate, we find the next piece, we get another piece of the map, but we still can't quite figure it out, so we go back to the lab, and then we're able to teleport through, and whoa, we're on Mount Firewake for some reason.
Yeah, they're meeting on another world because...
Because why?
Because reasons.
So, I'm fine with a bunch of Dragonkin meeting. That is not a problem to me.
And you know why they picked it is because it looked cool and it was a location they could use.
Because literally my first reaction was, whoa, followed by, wait a minute, what?
But it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because literally, Karapak was standing on the pedestal the Stone of Jest was on. So weird. Yeah. Imagine how cool it would have been if you went through the teleporter and you're in the freaking Dragonkin Castle from While Gothic Sleeps and he's standing there clutching the mirror.
Yeah, just
that would have been awesome.
The cutscene from after, for sure.
Oh man, but instead we just we talk to Hannibus after it, and he goes, "You should just go talk to Karapak." So we get to talk to Karapak, and he goes, "Oh yeah, that whole thing's useless. That's my old lab. Here's where it is."
I gotta say, kudos for having a puzzle in the quest. There was a puzzle here.
Yeah, I appreciate that puzzle existing. I'm glad it did.
Yes,
but
I don't get how activating statues makes beams come from portals to then make another portal. That one's beyond me. But otherwise,
it just kind of saddened me.
Yeah.
Because
and then we get told
this was really the first big moment in the quest where I started to get a little bit of fatigue, because all I could think was, wow, this had the potential to be really cool, and it didn't quite reach that.
No, because, we just did a bunch of filler.
We just did what felt like a bunch of filler, and it felt like all that work that I just put in was completely and utterly pointless.
And all that filler just got...
I really mean it. That made me kind of sad.
It just was to give Hannibus screen time, I guess.
Which
is...
And again,
not something I asked for.
I'm fine with giving Hannibus screen time. Dragonkin are an important part of leading up to the Dragonkin lab. The problem is we do all of this work, and none of it really does anything to tell the story of
Blackstone
Dragonkin Lab, or prepare for the Blackstone, or anything.
If anything, I feel like this quest more disconnected the dungeons, because there's just less. None of it's strengthened.
It felt like Raven was told that he was probably not going to be able to do a sequel to One of a Kind for a really long time, and so we decided, well, we're gonna put it in here then.
Yeah, and it makes the Blackstone story way weaker.
I agree.
Oh, definitely.
Because the story of Blackstone wasn't told.
Less excited about it now.
Yeah.
It was...
I mean, the dungeon is still good, but the quest is oof, it's bad.
I love it. I love ED2. It's still like my favorite mechanically to play because I have fun soloing that one. ED3 is probably just a little above me. But
ED3 looks like it's very fun though.
It looks fun. No, and
give it a try.
It's pretty neat, but I think I like ED2 a little better.
I'd definitely like to run it in a group very soon.
Yeah. I mean, I think 2 might actually my least favorite aesthetically, but otherwise.
Yeah, but ED2 is really fun.
Yeah, ED2 is great.
I think ED1 still has like the spot in my heart that I'm not gonna let go of.
Temple of Amnesia, I'm not wrong.
Exactly.
Temple of Amnesia is a really cool looking dungeon, and it being released was awesome. But I hate the middle boss.
You hate
Masuda is an
so
awful
bad.
boss.
Masuda is a terrible boss.
Seiryu has the potential.
I like Seiryu's mechanics.
Man, I love his mechanics, but it's a really messily designed fight. It's a cool idea, but it just doesn't function the way it really should.
Sanctum Guardian is just a good first boss. Like,
yeah, it's fine. I have no problem with Sanctum Guardian.
It's solidly simple. Like maybe
I mean,
not as
Seiryu is better than Sanctum Guardian, but like Sanctum Guardian is like a very clean boss. It's easy, it's simple.
Clearly, constructing additional pylons was the best boss.
Anyway, we've gotten way off topic. So you do Dragonkin Laboratory because Carapac told you to. And then
which is so stupid. Like
it doesn't it literally doesn't make any sense here.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. We're just doing it to like
that was definitely like the most
ED2 was
yep, this is how we're gonna get you to do the next dungeon.
ED2 was the one that needed the most context to exist. Like
it got none of it.
As it was
literally, Carapac just goes, "World Guardian, I suppose I should not be surprised at your arrival this time." You ask him what he's planning, he goes, "All in good time, but fear not, I will come to you when the time is right." And you talk about this dark power rising, and he goes, "I do, but it wouldn't help for me to tell you. There's stuff you have to discover on your own."
And
you're like, "Well, tell me where I can find the last piece." He looks at it, laughs, and goes, "I'll do better. I'll tell you where it leads. It goes to my old lab, the home of my greatest experiments and greatest mistake. Once a place where new dragons were born, wonderful dragons with unimaginable potential, but we had to abandon it. Sometimes an experiment goes wrong, and in that lab, it went horribly wrong." And he stands silent, lost in a memory, and then he takes your map, scratches a cross in it, goes, "There lies your answer. Now you should go speak to your allies, and I should speak to your friend Hannibus to make sure he administers the serum." You're like, "I have more questions," and he goes, "Nah, go."
So I absolutely despise this part because you do this entire portion of the quest to get this goddamn map, only for him to be like, "Nah, fam, you don't need that. I'll just fucking tell you."
Yeah, like that is my complaint.
Me?
Yeah,
it's what One of a Kind did as well, where you go through all of this effort only to discover that that effort was pointless and somebody else has already kind of done the thing you needed.
Yeah, and you're gonna do something else now real fast.
And now you're just like left standing there like, well, then what was the point of that?
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine with kind of pulling the rug out and, like, you know, a surprise, but when it's a twist that almost just feels like a lazy answer, that's when I get... Like, you go through all of this effort, and then we just stumble across Carapac, and... Whoa! It's Carapac, and guess who owns the place we're looking for?
Carapac!
Carapac! What? Ugh. It just bothered me.
Yeah.
It felt like a really dull...
It just felt like they were trying to be like, "Hey guys, remember Carapac is a Dragonkin scientist. Remember that?"
Yeah, it honestly really felt like too much of a coincidence.
And we should probably talk about Carapac's actual speech before that, because this is the first post-endgame quest, and they made sure you knew about it because we have a little speech about it being
talking about
game,
I am the one that destroyed the stone.
Then ends up leading nothing. Like it's I guess it's set up for the next Dragonkin quest, which definitely won't require this quest. So why is it here? I don't know why they're set up here for a quest that's you don't have to do the one before or the one after it.
Will be required since they've reset the requirements.
It's the master level quest that requires like at least a competency in combat. It's not going to be required. I don't think
competency. So. Oh no, we can't be having that, guys.
No, of course not. Of course not. The elite dungeons scare players off, of course. But yeah, then Dragonkin Lab, which ends up being kind of being irrelevant to the story of Blackstone. Like you do ED3 and like Seiryu comes through and you can see all the acolytes everywhere. You see where Temple of Amanishi tied in. Dragonkin Lab doesn't come back at all. You're just kind of side tangenting to see a Blackstone dragon.
It just feels very forced that it is there to try to establish the connection between the Dragonkin and the Blackstone.
Right, and
even though we already know that exists.
It needed something relevant with Cranon now, not Cranon's like centuries ago. Like, and how they almost tried to deal with him, but their solution fucked up, and we learned nothing from it because we used nothing from it, and we just kind of killed the dragon, and then can go to the reef.
Yeah.
It doesn't lead into it, and it doesn't lead out of it.
Yeah. So like, it doesn't really lead into the dungeon very well, and then you leave, and it doesn't
lead into.
I mean, but to be fair, I find ED2 to be the most disjointed, I suppose, to be the word.
It's the one that feels least relevant to the storyline in the first place.
It's the one that needed
but it's also just really fun.
No, exactly. That's the thing, right? It's like, it's a good dungeon, but it doesn't follow anything from ED1.
Right.
Like, seriously, I'm not gonna complain that it exists, but literally all it does to follow ED1 is just go, hey, so at the end of ED1, they told you about, you know, the dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
But now they don't.
Yeah, now he doesn't. But he used to. But that was like the only connection. But you have ED3 and ED1 that connect so well.
You could do ED1, the sequel ED3, and then like the what are the Star Wars things? The anthology.
The anthology.
Films. Yeah, this is the anthology to the Blackstone two dungeons. For real.
Yep.
Oh well. But then we move past that. And it's now time to take on Cranon. Wait, no, we have to go talk to She first. So we talk to She, and I think this has been voted as...
this is the part I hate.
Has this been voted as the worst cutscene ever?
Probably.
I've seen a lot of complaints about this one
so
cutscene.
You play the lab, you leave the lab, and then you go to Goshima, and then you just walk in. It's this really awkward, like, sideways thing, and the ambassador just turns up.
Yep, because...
There's been almost no lead up to the ambassador at this point. We just finished a completely unrelated dungeon that I'm sure the ambassador doesn't even care about.
Right, the only reference to the ambassador at this point is the horrific Crassian in ED1's yelling Cranon, and in the journal in ED2. And Piece of Hate, but the journal in ED2, which is totally, you could have not read it. Like, he has no setup for a lot of players if you're doing this in order. And he just shows up and kills a bunch of people, and you're supposed to act like he's the worst thing ever in the antagonist.
It's just like, there's no real build-up to him. He just shows up. Most players are going to be like, who is this?
Unless, I mean, you can't say most players, because everyone knows the ambassador at this point because of the memes.
No, but, like, think about it. As a player who's never played the game before, or, like, a casual player who doesn't keep up with offline stuff, doesn't watch RuneFest.
Yeah.
They're doing this, and then just suddenly this dude called the ambassador turns up. And the only way they could have known who the ambassador was is if they grinded ED1 enough to get the book that mentions the ambassador.
True. Or, yeah.
So then, like, what I was really expecting from this scene, and this is another part where I'm suggesting what I wish I would have done here, but, like, I would have started talking to She, and then suddenly the ambassador appears. He says a couple lines, and then he starts fighting you. Like, he's like, you've meddled in my affairs for the last time. You gone.
Right.
Because, like, right now he goes, did you think freeing the other two would weaken my hold on you?
And that's
only tightened the noose further.
That's what ED2 needed from this quest, is for the ambassador to even give one line about he cares that you just freed two of his minions.
What I thought would, like, even changing the end of ED2 to have him, like, appear.
That would be great. Even while
it would be a little random, but like
even overworld, just while you're exiting.
Yeah. Just something that acknowledges, even just some dialogue in the chat that's like,
he's coming.
What's happening here? Or something.
You've
like
done too much. He's coming for you. Yeah.
Something that hints that he is now acknowledged that you exist, is aware of your actions, The other thing that really weirds me out here is, remember how Seryu's dialogue changed at the end and he talks about the 2 other people affected by the ambassador and the stone? Seryu speaks to us still as if we don't know who Madame Xi is.
But you're supposed to assume suggestive
to
requirements
go to ED1,
True.
we talked to Xi.
I know.
But, here's the really wonderfully weird part. So the ambassador turns up, he does this weird little thing, and then he just kills everyone but the player, and why didn't he just kill us too?
It just had to be one line, because my master said you can't die yet. All he had to do was say that.
Yeah. But like here's where I really think like that kind of fight would have been really cool, is fight against him, show off that awesome like spinny special attack that he has, kill a bunch of dudes, and then he leaves as people start dying, and he goes, you know, all of that. I also love how Xi goes, "I'll kill you, I'll stop your ritual and tear your heart out of your chest." But then of course we know later that he doesn't have a heart in his chest to rip out, so it's like, ooh.
But then
irony.
But then wait, we get hearts as rewards to make the sigils.
I know, that's the best part. I think those are hearts ripped out of other creatures.
Other affected creatures. Okay.
Yeah, because other monsters.
But he does drop them.
Kingdom Hearts, anybody?
Ugh. Anyways, we should probably keep moving because we're going really slow pace.
Here's the best part is afterwards she's like, that monster. You're like, we'll regroup, we'll work it out. And she goes, no more waiting. I will tear this ritual apart with my bare hands. And I'm like, oh shit, we're going to get this fight going to it. And then we go over there.
And we never see her again.
Gathers all these people. We don't see Xi again. This is the last time Madame Xi appears in this quest.
This is an example of the writing needs to know the scope of the quest.
The writing needs to know what's going on with the dungeon.
You can't,
and it acts like it doesn't.
You can't hype it up and then not have anything to like,
and
of course
it's this point. Oh, no, sorry. I lied. She does turn up after you finish the dungeon.
And she's like, yeah, I tried and I failed.
You avenged my crew.
And
then your character literally goes, what happened to you, Xi? You just vanished.
I mean, yeah, don't set up a moment if you're not going to pay off on the moment.
Like, I loved that Seryu turned up in the ambassador fight. Spoilers! But she should have turned up.
Yeah. Or both. I mean,
like,
both,
she goes,
honestly.
I went to fight him like a fool.
Honestly.
But the problem is, like, we went through all of this effort to, like, get in there, and she apparently just already went there herself.
But how about she riding Seryu?
Oh, yes, please. I would have screeched. That would have been great.
Would
have just heard, like, a... Oh! No, like, noise. Something ridiculous like that.
That would be amazing. Anyway.
My girlfriend just looked up in the other room and stared at me when I made that noise. So that was a good sign that it was the right noise to make.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
She's nodding at me now.
Yeah. As she should.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, so we get past Xi and the ambassador thing, and then the next worst part of the quest comes up. We were
not even next worst part. This is the worst part of the quest.
I don't know. I think the
hands
quest
down
progressively just gets worse and worse at this point.
This part of the quest murders all pacing that the rest of this quest had. And it not only does it murder the pacing in the quest, but every time a new bit starts, the pacing gets...
Exactly. It just gets slower and slower.
So you arrive at the table, and Brill's like, everybody here is committed to help take down the ambassador. We've heard about what he did to Xi's crew. We gotta stop him now, you know? But he's not alone, so we gotta set up a war council, and we're gonna go fight. Like, all right, but we know that his ritual site's under the water, so you need to find a way to breathe underwater.
Sure.
Here's this dick from Beneath Cursed Tides.
You better remember that quest exists. You better.
Here's what really bothers me. So in Pieces of Hate, we go underwater, and the way we go underwater is not that we need a thing to breathe underwater. We just put on a diving suit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a cosmetic diving suit. We're still wearing our armor and weapons.
Wait, it gets better. And then we find out there's a magical bubble of breathing air around Olvith Creeth. Why aren't we just using that during the dungeon?
And then what's even better is that Myrtle literally has the ability to cast a spell on us to let us breathe underwater. And I know she, like, tries to do this weird, like, little thing. What was it?
I can't go back there.
Unfortunately, I cannot join you near the Cursed Archipelago because of ... reasons.
So plot convenience. So much plot convenience.
What?
And the whole reason she's saying this is just to add more padding to the quest that you have to, like, solve these riddles.
Yeah. And then, but during my research, I found an old set of instructions on how to make a potion of water breathing.
And it gets even better. all of the riddles have nonsense, not non, but okay, the answers make sense, but none of them are relevant to the story where they really should be. You should be doing story stuff here if you're going to have us running around, not send us to the freaking Abbey of St. Elspeth.
And then it's a resident of the depths you wish to traverse, and then it gives you a raw Salago. Why didn't it give you a Karamatulu? Why didn't it give you a manta ray? Because you literally see manta rays while you're swimming around.
Or like a Crassian claw, or
anything. And then you go to Ice Mountain.
Yes.
And then you go to
where I totally
the Scytherete Abbey.
I totally expected at Ice Mountain that the Oracle would like say something ominous, and there was a reason you're going there. And we're looking in the desert. We're looking like what would be related to Xau-Tak, or what would be makes like the heart, or what makes sense. We checked the heart.
We checked the Anamica mine. Like no, it was the Scytherete Abbey.
We checked the mirrors where you commune with to find Azanadra.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And it was the Abbey?
Just none of it had any relevant sense. It all just was here. Go to these.
Technically,
spots.
It made sense with the riddle given.
Yeah, but like the riddle itself had no thematic relevance to the story.
No, it was just random stuff to make you run around more.
Mm-hmm. And so you run around, you do that, and then this is the greatest part of this quest. You return, and your player goes, "Okay, I'm now fully capable of breathing underwater for a few hours."
Prepare to run around.
So here. Let's go on a bunch of side quests and run down that timer, buddy. So from this point on, you do a task for Hannibus, you go back to the KBD, and you go to Mordot, and then Hannibus and Vindicta. So they can destroy the cannons, but now we have to do some stuff for Gully.
So we do the funniest part of it for Steven.
Yeah, we do it for Steven. So this part of the quest is hilarious. It also takes a giant steaming dump on the already deceased pacing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the funniest part of the quest, and it feels the most piratey of what's technically a pirate quest. It has a pirate name.
I enjoyed the shit out of this part because I thought it was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. But again, makes no sense.
It did not fit in this part.
It doesn't fit. I think this is the only part we've talked about. Like, it would make sense if you do this in the beginning of the quest before Amanishi, before it gets going.
Yeah, this would have been a great part while you were on Amanishi. Fits in there. It would have been really hilarious.
Cut some of that Jade Spider backtracking, like the 4 islands you go to, and put this in.
But it got put in here instead, and it just really didn't feel relevant. Because it was funny as hell. The writing was great. Like most of the writing in this quest, the writing was good. Like the actual raw dialogue that you read was very well written.
Line to line, but not when put together.
But put together as a whole, it did not feel like a coherent story. And this portion and the portion right after it,
the portion right after it is the worst like side quest of all time.
It's just not what it doesn't play well. And there's so much backtracking to areas that you can't really reach reasonably.
Yeah,
but so you do this hilarious thing, and then you go back, and Gully's like, "Well, great. So I guess if I die now, I'll be fine."
Mm-hmm.
Because that was his last request, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then you work with Higgs, and you do it to get another person to help you, who then has you help someone else.
Why is she not wearing Tetsu armor here if we're assuming that Final Destination was done?
That's really weird. I don't know.
I don't know. She's before her quest, but then also after, but there's no consistency. This quest takes place at every point in the timeline, is what I've determined. Maybe that makes sense with Xau-Tak.
I don't know.
But yes, we then have to recruit a Black Knight army to help us in Shadow Reef because they totally show up. And what ensues is, I guess it's partially funny, partially like a social political lesson, partially I don't know who the hell this Black Knight captain is. Why wasn't the priest just used?
It's all very random and very pointless.
Are we assuming Death of Chivalry was done? Are we not?
Yeah, and it feels like the bad Babby version of what Stu pitched for a Black Knight's Fortress.
Yeah, and I guess I get what I was going for, but it was mechanically stripped because it's part of this other quest that had no budget, and it could have been like that Black Knight Fortress tale, or Death of Chivalry 1.5. Or whatever was being pitched there. But it was
unfortunately, this feels even more disconnected than the Seagull thing. Because you're doing a task for somebody, and in process, you do a special task with somebody else for some reason,
Yeah.
It doesn't really make any sense. And then
you're-
you go do all of this stuff, and literally the whole quest is just running around talking to a couple
you like
random people.
it's like
back
Taverley,
and
Black Knight Fortress, Taverley, Black Knight Fortress,
Yeah.
back to Demonheim, back to Taverley, back to Black Knight Fortress, and then back to Taverley one more time, and then back to Demonheim to finish up.
There's no gameplay
and
at all.
the worst part is that a QA tester on Twitter said this was in feedback that it felt so super backtracky. Like
Brilliant.
KSE said that was feedback given, and it's still a thing. And I've seen a lot of players be like, why didn't they just, like, instead of going Taverley, Black Knight Fortress, Taverley, just have Taverley cutscene to Black Knight Fortress where whatever happens, and then just still be in Taverley. That would cut down so much.
Yeah.
I don't know. So after that, I think that's where the quest broke us. But now it's finally time to fight the ambassador. Yay!
Yeah, so we do all of this, and then
we're still
ready,
doing that, right?
ready to fight the ambassador now. Woo.
Yeah. Which we then did, and Reef is amazing. But I think before we touch on that, I just want to, like, get to the conclusion of the quest real fast.
No, so this is my biggest complaint here.
Okay.
Before we get there.
Okay.
So we do all of, and then we give them this rousing, epic speech.
Mm-hmm.
We've got an army, a couple of dragons, we can breathe underwater, and a seagull's marriage has been repaired. And then, so you give your speech, and then it feels like you're about ready to see your army ride into the Shadow Reef. You're going to come in on a bunch of ships, you're going to see some excitement happen. Nope, you just turn up underwater, you see some bodies floating down just like it did in Pieces of Hate. After all of that build-up and all of that work, you see none of the raid.
My expectations weren't even that high. They were at Pieces of Hate, where at least, like, the people were describing what was going on, like the fog, even though you couldn't see the ship battles. We didn't even get descriptions. They were just forgotten about at this point. And at the post quest, they're like, "Yeah, we did things." They didn't describe what they did. We did things. It was like 2 lines, and the rest of the time was given to she and about how she failed, and then Hannibus and about how he has to figure shit out with his daughter, and I think Gully as well, and just, like, see you back in the Ark. That was fun. The whole build up was for nothing. It was for nothing. But at least there's a post-quest cutscene, right, guys? That was for something, right?
Yay!
Sorry about not talking for a second there, Mike.
Wait, no, there was no cutscene. There was still nothing.
Yeah, no, there wasn't a cutscene.
Well, what about Rabbit Jack? He was there, right?
Yeah, he was totally there. Remember that awesome scene where he
said he'd come back?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's not.
And he totally did.
About.
No,
this
he,
is
no,
like
he didn't do that.
I think this. It
So
forgot that it was a follow-up to Pieces of
way-
Hate and thought it was a follow-up to One of a Kind.
This is the way that I described this quest, right? I said, it feels like they had a really good quest idea in mind, but they were so limited by budget that they tried to reuse as much as physically possible to try to compensate.
And they did. They really did. They were on the
shit
same
ton.
budget that Elite Dungeon 3 was on. It's not like they had a separate budget. This was just part of Dungeon 3's
it was
development time.
Raven's free time after work and then 2 new JMods. So it wasn't even really Raven's I can fully see that he wrote some great stuff for ED3 while on company time.
I agree.
ED3 lore is, like, almost airtight, amazing.
It is. It's fantastic.
It's beautiful, honestly. Every mini boss seems pretty relevant. All the lore books are great. I love that, but then the quests feel so afterthought, and it doesn't tie together what was so great about the 3 dungeons.
Yeah.
I at this point would rather play the 3 dungeons one after the other instead of the quest, because I feel like they fall together much better and pace together much better, just as the 3 dungeons. This is a case where more was worse. Less would have been so much better.
It felt like they tried too hard to fill it in, but it also felt like there was no editing.
That too.
It felt like they wrote everything.
And they made everything.
And then never cut anything.
It's so impressive how they made all of this in whatever tiny little amount of time they had. Like, they've made a lot of things, a lot of dialogues and side dialogues with characters and post-quest and all that. There's so much here. But some of it is does disservice to the Blackstone trilogy, which is a shame. And now I feel like we're all just like solemnly quiet.
There's so little I have to say, unfortunately.
So we should talk about the Shadow Reef thing. There's a lot of cool stuff there.
I agree. That was cool.
Uplifting note.
It's actually funny because the reason the Shadow Reef works so well is that while it has a lot of lore, it lets you fill in the blanks again. It shows you rather than tells you in 600 lines of dialogue.
Yep. And it's all very, very relevant. Like, it's all every story beat you is connected. It's here. It's in like the Oreb, and it's in Yorger, and it's in the Obsidian Tribunal Sisters, and all that.
Yeah.
It's all pretty great, and the fights are all pretty decent too. We had some trouble with the Leviathan the first couple of tries. We didn't know why we were dying.
We didn't know what was happening.
It's because our at least on my end, my animations were lagging a little hard those first couple attempts, and I wasn't realizing the sweep was what was doing the damage, and that he wasn't covering the whole arena in one go. He was only covering half of the space. You could run left or right. Once I knew that, it was much more doable.
I agree. It looked much bigger than it turned out.
Oh, that too, yeah. I was surprised none of the heads, like, they'd occasionally do some typeless damage when you're running across to get to the head on the other side. Sometimes. The fight is much more restrained than what it actually... It looks... Yeah, what you said, it looks bigger than it actually is. It's actually just with a head on a wall that occasionally goes to the other wall. And it's a small area as opposed to a big one because it's always covered in poison. So it's kind of deceptive like that. But I still think it's a decent, easy fight. I think it's probably the easiest boss in all the dungeons, which is really weird to have in the third dungeon. Like, it's way easier than Sanctum Guardian. But I guess that's just what it is. And this being easy made up for the Ambassador being the hardest one. I'm not sure, but I like the aesthetic and everything here. And going to Terraket is like one of the coolest bosses designed, I think.
He just looks ugly.
You think he looks ugly. I think it's a good use of remodel.
I absolutely despise his model in every aspect.
Did you despise it in Hero's Welcome? Or just the texture reskin that they did?
Well, I don't think the Abomination looks all that great either, no. But my point is that I find that the Ambassador looks really cool, right? Like, he looks like you can pin out some of his Dragonkin features, right? But at the same time, he looks like he has been morphed into something more.
Into Squidward.
Terraket just is ugly.
It looks derpy, but again, I'm okay with it. Understand saving budget.
I hate it. I hate his model.
The nice thing about Terraket is you're not really paying attention to Terraket's model. You're seeing a swarm of zombies come at you. These two giant zombies burst from the ground.
He's the summon.
There's a lot more going on than just this little tiny...
Right. All of his special attacks have to do with summoning more things, which is
and then
really
dealing
great.
more damage. He also casts Death Shadow and uses that.
Is there another boss that focuses purely on summoning other minions? Yeah, because I think this is pretty new for RuneScape.
Literally, he gains his special attacks based on what summons are still out.
His attacks are summon a portal to summon zombies, which you have to kill, or summon one of his two special zombies, which one of them summons even more zombies, and the other one boosts him. Which are all it's all summons, which is great. I love it. It's something we haven't seen much of before. Some bosses have a phase where they summon a couple things, but not every single part, which is pretty neat. And I like the fight a lot for that. It's kind of refreshing. And then we get to the Ambassador, which is a bitch of a fight in normal mode. Story mode, not that bad. It took me a long time to figure out where the fires spawn when he does the spiral attack, the spinning attack.
Yeah.
And I died 7 times in a row just because they spawned on top of me, and I didn't know where. After 2 steps, okay, I'll try staying over here, and it was another place where they spawned in. And eventually, I was just gonna stand in the west. It never spawns in the west. And finally, I got it, but I died way too many times they spawned on me. There's nothing I could do because I didn't learn it yet. But other than that, pretty damn cool fight. The Seiryu moment is brilliant. It makes Temple of Amnesia feel that much more important to this temple. And then I guess he just dies.
Wish Dragonkin Labs had any relevance.
Right. I didn't really get the first time that he was dead. I don't think it didn't feel like his story was done. I guess maybe to me, like I feel like he had just gotten brought in like as a main character just after ED2 in the quest. If you just did the dungeon, you just see him at the Crassian Leviathan in here. I feel like he'd been talked about in whispers and shadows so often that I expected more from his. He'd get more screen time, but I guess most of his development is just reserved.
Who are you
to the
talking about now?
Shadows.
Cranon?
Cranon, yeah, he only appears very little.
Yeah.
And then he's dead. Now he's just...
I mean, I think we get more of Cranon out of his books than we do his actual appearance.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because,
which is kind of sad.
like...
I wished he was more recurring as a physical villain.
Oh, I totally agree.
But I guess we're gonna move on to other agents of Xau-Tak now.
Right. The thing is, like...
Yeah. Unless he gets revived. He could. He was already, like, half alive, half dead.
He could.
I have a feeling that Rabid Jack will probably be the comeback at some point more than
entirely sure I like his very over-dramatic, zealous kind of personality.
That about him. I love the
I'm completely against you on that.
I get it, right? Because he was a Dragonkin priest.
It's like
he was though, and it's great character for him.
It's totally new side of Dragonkin.
It's just such a trope.
I think
I disagree because none of our other villains,
none of our other Dragonkin,
especially as of late, have been like
overzealous.
It's really, really cool to see an excited and like very fervent character speaking about Xau-Tak in such ardent tone.
They've always been like Zamorak, like.
So all the people that have talked about him before have been like loud and insane and terrifying, and Cranon is excited and interested and eager. And he was a priest, and even reading the books, you see that excitement of him discovering something he thinks nobody else has discovered. And then he does discover it, and he gets to see how amazing, at least to him, that discovery turned out to be. I love to see that enthusiasm from that character because it makes him all the scarier and all the more exciting because he's really threatening, and he really does care about his cause.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty.
It's not even for his own self-power. It's all in service of his god.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have another villain like that.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Did he eventually at some? Because I know that he was trying to summon Xau-Tak because Xau-Tak could free him from the curse, right?
Yeah.
Did he ever change that reasoning, like just because Xau-Tak is great, or was it still for the curse at the end?
As far as I can tell, it was all related just to so let's see here.
The curse is broken by the time we do ED3.
His curse was already broken. Remember in the book.
So yeah, no, then he's just a follower at that point.
So
right.
He's following him because he did break the curse.
Mm-hmm.
He did all of that work.
He's that powerful.
He was transformed, and he was met by Xau-Tak, who removed his link to the Stone of Jas and told him, "You are my ambassador now.
Gotcha. That was the deal.
Tell the world of my greatness." And then he does.
Like Zamoreagle, except actually great.
Yeah. Not silly and jokey. But he then works with all of these entities. He works with Masuda.
Yeah.
He works with Oreb. He starts corrupting other people, like Rabid Jack.
And
he uses these people to build himself an army and build himself a church. He is a pastor, and all of these people are his flock.
Yeah.
All of this is for him preaching the great word of Xau-Tak. And I think it's awesome.
It is awesome.
I love the way his story plays.
And we should probably talk about the mini bosses too, because there's so much. Like
the mini bosses are fantastic.
Oreb as a freaking mini boss, it's hilarious.
I love his dialogue too.
Yeah.
I love that Oreb acknowledges that we've killed him many times.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of wonderful.
And see, you say that, I absolutely
the sort of thing that I should hate.
Realize when they're bosses. I don't like that.
In Oreb's case, though, it's kind of perfect.
That's his shtick. It's been his shtick since he was actually just a boss.
Like, we thought he was dead, and then he turns back up, and whoa, hey, not only are you not dead, but you can't die. You keep coming.
And then there's to go with that, Masuda, the Descended, as the spirit of Masuda, which is like the same thing.
See, I found the Masuda pun to be better than Oreb.
Just because it was a pun?
Just because it was a pun.
I knew that.
I suppose, yeah. And then we've got Boggoth. He's just like a version
of the Super Crassian.
Yep.
The super cross, yeah.
We've got Ulfin Keith. I don't really know why he's there, but he's funny.
Ulfin Keith.
You know he totally exists
Cooper
for the sole purpose of that joke.
Yeah,
it's the pun.
I like the name. It's funny.
And Bossy McBossface and Cooper are also just like the comical ones.
Yeah, Bossy McBossface is great. He only exists because of the winner of a Game Blast charity auction.
And I really want Swordy McSwordface.
I do too.
That'd be a great drop.
Cooper's really funny. I enjoyed his dialogue quite.
His poetry, yeah.
Also, he's a barrel chest, and a Cooper is somebody who makes barrels.
Yes. Solid.
But then into the lore ones, Lady Himiko turns up.
Mm-hmm. And also,
awesome.
Shrine Maiden
This is so awesome.
As both from Temple, yeah.
Yeah, Shrine Maiden Allay is there. Toombi, the Khan of Thalassia, is there.
Yep, from the Assassin Void. It's from the Assassin ones.
Yeah. Right? He was assassinated by Ling, and somehow he was resurrected.
No, he escaped. He escaped while she was.
Oh, that's right.
Thalassia. Yeah.
That's funny. I need to edit the wiki. It says that he was actually successfully assassinated by Ling, and he was resurrected in
For shame. We have the one Sea Horror. I forget his name, but he proclaims about how their god from the journals that we got people before Beasts of Hate was also Xau-Tak.
Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah, I mean we kind of assumed that Tezcathala was Xau-Tak, but this is actual confirmation, which is nice. Then we got Yogurt.
But I like it because he says he was perplexed by the god's alternate name, which is really wonderful.
There's also
then we got Yogurt the Deceiver.
I want to stop on Yogurt because we have points about Yogurt later.
Yeah, so we're not going to talk about Yogurt yet. His name is actually Yorger the Deceiver. We're calling him Yogurt, and we're going to keep calling him Yogurt. Suck it up.
I call him Yorger the Yogurt, but
yeah. But we'll come back to him.
The Hanto Moai.
There's the Blackstones. Oh,
I want to talk about the Hanto Moai. Is super interesting. How
I really enjoyed
he's
that.
taken the Moai from Hanto and just corrupted with Blackstone, and now the Moai wants to die.
It makes me really excited to go to this.
I want to see what he did to Hanto because
I want to see what the island looks like now.
The people from Hanto.
Whenever somebody develops the skull, please remember this. Let us see Hanto in a really fucked up way.
Yeah, and because we know the people from Hanto are following Crandon as well because they're ED1. And then we also have the Obsidian Tribunal sisters.
Also Hanto-wise, we know further because of the Last Offering book. That person is from Hanto.
Correct.
And then he
also wasn't one of the mini bosses in a Temple of Amnesia from Hanto.
I believe so.
Yeah, so something of Hanto.
We've had a lot of references to Hanto, basically.
I think it's mostly because we had the armor modeled from there. Is why they.
I do too. Honestly, I do too.
Just from the one Treasure Hunter event, but that's fine. We get skull development anyways.
Yep. And then we've got the 3 members of the Obsidian Tribunal just turning up out of nowhere. The Maw of Kothragar, the Hand of Dagnath, and the Eye of Scythan.
It's just for foreshadowing, right?
So,
it's got it.
Are they the quote-unquote Obsidian Tribunal?
No.
Or is
So the Blackened Journal from Umbral Diplomacy straight up reads, so the Tribunal has sent its agents to assist me. There's obviously more at work here, for the Tribunal has always believed itself above my methods. I am not part of their scheming. I have no desire to bend my knee to Agnes or her agents. This is my world, and I will not grant them a foothold. Still, they are useful. Their power adds to the ritual, and I can draw upon the Tribunal's strength to give me that final edge I need to break the walls of our prison. We will all be free.
Neat stuff. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yep.
And then I think the Blackstone Scuttler was just a Crassian, right?
Yep, just a Crassian crab. It has dialogue too.
Oh, that's neat. And then I think the only other one is Oreb.
I think that's it.
I think we talked about Oreb enough.
Yeah, we mentioned Oreb.
But lots of stuff about Terragard there, which is neat.
Yep.
And then some of the witches talk about Terragard too.
Yeah, they have some good dialogue too.
There's dialogue on NPCs that aren't mini bosses.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. There's a lot of Calgarian demons here as well. To go along with Yogurt.
Regular demons to go with Yogurt.
Which also is fine. I'm a little sad that they don't really have any mechanics. Very few of the mobs in this dungeon have mechanics.
Yeah.
There's a few of the reused ones from the first dungeon, and like a couple summoners, and the witches have some kind of extra damage, and the necromancers summon things.
I'm pretty sure it was Oreb that was like draining my Constitution stat. So at least
I think so too.
Yeah, it wasn't because he had witches by him. I also thought could be it. But I think it was Oreb.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going on, and then I realized no, it is Oreb using his con drain.
That was neat. But
I agree.
I guess we should jump into the books.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So Umbral Diplomacy is an amazing book.
Oh my god, they're so great. So much in it.
I think it's because it's not like one drawn out story where like they pad in the middle like what they did with Eli's diary.
One quick note. Ling does kill Toombi.
He is revived. Interesting.
Anyway, carry on.
I think it's way better because it's not like that one long story by one person. Like ED2 did a bit better because it was 3 different people. You need less filler when it's more stories in 22 pages. So instead of like, blah blah blah, we had dinner today, you could just go to a different person and say something else interesting, which this journal does constantly. It goes and goes and goes in like Oreb between, I guess the Oreb and Himiko like transpondence was a little fillery, but like going over to Yogurt and going to just Cranon. Wait, was there one by just Cranon? Am I misremembering?
I think there was a couple just by Cranon. He at least writes to somebody.
Right, and I think there was a Taraket one as well.
There's a couple back and forth from Taraket later in.
Okay.
Yeah, so the opening ones from Cranon, the opening ones from Cranon are by Cranon. They kind of continue his journal, the original one. And then we reach the Enchanted Papyrus scroll, and then it's from Oreb for a little. Demonic Thoughts is from Yogurt.
Fucking Yogurt.
There's the bit about from the Mwanu.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Another one from Cranon about the Tribunal, and then Eketis writes to Taraket. Taraket writes. Oreb and Himiko write to each other for a little while. I love the end of Diplomatic Papyruses. Basically, they've been writing back and forth, and Oreb's trying to kind of understand their, if they're being legit, like in their beliefs, or if they're just kind of playing it. And then
the back and forth letters is so funny.
But then Oreb at the end goes, P.S. Are you aware that there's a spy in your order, I trust? An angrily written letter. Dear Oreb, there are no spies in the order. You're mistaken. Regards, Lady Himiko. Diplomatic impunity. Dear Lady Himiko, no? So your words are intentionally flawed? I wonder if you would care to explain the reasoning behind that. What advantage is there in allowing the World Guardian a direct entry to Uranus Sanctum?
So
yours in curiosity, Oreb, Magister of House Charon. Letter of warning. My dear Lord Ambassador, you've been discovered. And then Oreb writes to Cranon.
Yeah,
he's writing to Himiko. He's writing to Himiko, and then he writes to Cranon like, yo, you people are dumbasses. It's freaking hilarious.
I just love how, like, he totally talks down to Himiko. Like, she's a total dumbass.
It's amazing.
No, it's a great book. Speaking of great books, I thought... Oh, God, do we have transcripts the other two?
Yes, the transcripts are also on the wiki.
Not a lot's linked. So
oh, sorry. I'll pull them up.
No, not you not linking. It's through in the wiki. It's not like linking to itself and different things. Last Offering I thought was a good story. I don't know if it was like the craziest.
I don't really know what the Last Offering was trying to tell us other than just look at him do some. You belong to Ulfven Creeth and how he like recruits. I guess
the first journal in each dungeon has to be like a fun tale. Like the gnome.
What's interesting about the Last Offering is it kind of just reminds me of a Lovecraft story where something unimaginable happens, and then when I looked down, I saw colors and shapes beyond imagining, beyond comprehension. Da da da.
Mm-hmm.
You belong to the tides now. You belong to the depths. It's that kind of like unknowable thing.
And then I think the linchpin is Cranon's Ancient Journal from Taraket, and
absolutely, this explains so much.
It's just the lead up to when he tried to summon Xau-Tak the first time, way back when. And it's probably the best insight into Cranon that we get. Excuse me. So I just think that's
books are fantastic. They're really fantastic. I love the way Cranon talks about how he is discovering the things left out of stories.
Mm-hmm.
Those hidden stories, the great network of forgotten and empty tales, and how he pieced them together, discovered the truth of what was missing.
Yeah,
I really love it.
No, everything in here is solid.
So wonderfully written.
So, should we talk about Yogurt?
Yeah. And I think it's time to talk about Yogurt. So this is really the messiest part of Elite Dungeon 3 to me, and I don't even blame the writers so much for this.
half of it's our assumption that got our expectations up, I think.
Yeah, so we read this page and I freaked. I got so excited. I read the demonic page. It's in the Umbral Diplomacy. Let me read it. Because this one's
just vague enough you could interpret it wrong.
Yeah. So this is humiliating. To be brought to this, to be bargaining with those disgusting fallen things, my Avernic shell itches and crawls, and a fire burns deep in its belly. I long to be rid of it, but I must endure. But so it is. Our plans to summon the 100-handed one in Daemonheim failed due to the intervention of the Guardians of Gothics. Perhaps this Cranon can succeed where we failed. If he does so, we will take the power of the 100-handed one for ourselves and use it to reclaim our rightful homeworld. So here stand I, Yogurt, scion of Infernus, bowing and scraping and entreating, an ambassador to monster. So I read this, and my first reaction was, oh my god, so this is the 5th Calgarian general that we heard about all those years, that we're told, oh, he's deeper, and then whoops, no, sorry, that was a mistake on ours. I love that they retconned, here's a new general, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
And then my first thought was, this explains so much about Daemonheim.
Right, this
explains Bilrak's insanity. This explains the Whispers. This explains all of these undead roaming around Daemonheim.
Mm-hmm.
This explains why these super powerful Calgarian demons would work with someone like Bilrak.
Right, and
it even explains the token, the strange token at the bottom of Daemonheim.
Mm-hmm.
This explains the Acolyte, and my first thought was, oh my god. So while Bilrak was trying to find Zamorak through the rift, the Calgarians were trying to find Zamorak. Somehow they found out about him too, and they attempted a ritual and failed.
Right, and
Yorger was forced away. Yaklager was forced into his prison by those mages. Like, it all kind of came together for me. And then I ask a question to Jack, and he goes, no, that's not what that's talking about at all. It's all about till death do us part.
Just the Halloween event.
Talk about a cock block.
It makes sense the way you were thinking about it is the problem.
Yeah. Well, and the really unfortunate part about all of this, too, is Till Death Do Us Part was really messy. You know, the ambassador, Cranon, goes through all of this effort to discover Xau-Tak, and the only other people who have discovered Xau-Tak are the people that Xau-Tak reached out to. So how the fuck did this random group of Calgarians just stumble across Xau-Tak, discover a way to summon him, kidnap Moya because she was sent to investigate a sinkhole when there's hundreds of sinkholes?
Mm-hmm.
Just randomly sent to this one, gets kidnapped, put on top of this weird rift. All these random Calgarian demons keep showing up, and oh yeah, it's in Draenor, right outside Death, the Guardian of Gothic's office.
Right, because
like,
Daemonheim wasn't a free-to-play location.
Yeah. And if they were that desperate to make all of this work, why wouldn't they just wait for a different sinkhole?
Literally, all he had to say all they had to write in this book was not Guardians of Gothic, just say the Riders or something like that, and it wouldn't have been confusable.
Well, and I also just straight up think that
oh yeah, I like that theory.
Till Death Do Us Part had terrible lore.
I was gonna say there's the pre-existing theory of Xau-Tak being at the bottom of Daemonheim, which I really like.
People have been talking about that recently, and I'm a big fan of it.
And so
I'm not joking. I would be 100% on board with this being a retcon to actually say
right,
that.
Because we know that the original intent behind Daemonheim, there was an idea to have a Zamorak boss at the bottom, which obviously isn't going to happen. But Xau-Tak makes it, like, the madness and having like the dungeoneering tie back into the elite dungeons, and there's like the warped skeletons in Shadow Reef, warp floors. It would have worked. It really would have.
I really think so. But it's kind of sad, and the thing that really bugs me the most is just Till Death Do Us Part is already this complete mess.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the writers were well written and they were cool, but the Calgarian demons turning up, the hands poking out, like, why? What is this? What's happening? Why is it in Daemonheim? Why are there random Calgarians? Why are all of these zombies and rotting hulks turning up? What's going on? And now, and then just to add to the confusion, there's not even a real reason that the rotting hulks turn up, because the Calgarians weren't working with the ambassador until after their summoning failed. So
right.
Terracat wouldn't have been assisting them. So none of it really makes sense to me. And maybe I'm just dumb and I can't quite piece it together, but I feel like I'm not dumb here. I feel like it's just this page was kind of thrown in there to go, okay, so now we kind of have to address that shitty Halloween event, so let's do it.
Yeah.
but it just kind of saddens me because this felt like an answer to a lot of questions in a really, really cool way, and then failed to actually.
And it wasn't
do
the
anything.
answer, yeah.
Also, Lucian turning up at the end of that event was a travesty, and whoever wrote that, I'm mad at.
It was purely because, like, that would be cool. There was no narrative significance to Lucian being there.
Well, and it's not something Xau-Tak has ever done before, and still has not done to this day, other than that one time.
Right, and
using it as an explanation of, like, well, he manifested her fears.
I mean, you can trace
He's
it.
Never done that.
You then trace it back to be like, why? So Lucian was there for cool factor, so that must be why Moya was there, because they wanted to use Lucian. But then she doesn't have a reason to be there without wanting to use the Nightmare Lucian, which also had no reason to be there, so I don't know.
She just didn't have a reason to be there. They're like, well, Zamorak sent her. I'm like, that's great, but why does Zamorak give a shit about a random single?
It was convenience to make
I also
possibly
think
cool
that Nightmare Lucian was like the worst thing ever, so...
Yeah. I don't know.
Moya's biggest fears come to life. She was never afraid of Lucian. Like, stop.
So now Xau-Tak trilogy. The whole story was very solid, except for a few patches. Those patches.
There's stuff on the fringes of the story that doesn't come together.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the quest or talking about the Halloween event?
The whole story and the parts that don't come together, the Halloween and the quest. The rest, the dungeons are great. Pieces of Hate is great. The journals before Pieces of Hate were great.
All of that setup was great. Just some of it didn't work.
I personally think that one of the books in the little mini quest thing before Pieces of Hate is probably one of the best written books in the game.
Those books
the one that ends with I really do want to protect you, reader, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. But do I really think I can save you? That is probably the best written book in the goddamn game.
I agree.
But
I agree.
But like, I hate seeing them take such a good and well built up story and squandering.
It was the best of lore. It was the worst of lore.
It's actually really funny because it's kind of legit because like there's so many really amazing moments in this, and I feel like overall the story is fucking great.
I don't.
But like,
unless I'm missing something, I don't think it's done. Like
I can't tell because like the end of the dungeon,
I can't tell whether they didn't bother to include Rabbit Jack or he's coming back. I couldn't tell whether this is all they had planned for Madame Xi or this is what they had planned.
I don't really know what they want to do here.
I don't know, like the references from like all the Slisky quests where we kept hearing like Slisky knowing about it and like, all that stuff.
Especially because like the ambassador at one point says something like, you know, he wasn't paying attention to you or something like that. I'm like, yes, he was.
Yeah, Slisky...
You've been hearing my name in your dreams.
Yeah, and Slisky knew about us, and because we were like, he found the journal where our name was said by the sailor.
Yeah, it was just weird.
I don't know. It's like half of the everything they tried to tie together since ED1 was made came together. Anything before that kind of got left to the wayside.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an effect of like Wilson left, so all the things he was setting up got left to the wayside, or
I really don't know.
Or what. But like
it feels like in terms of like the ambassador story and dealing in the dungeons in a couple of the books.
Yeah, that's
amazing. So great.
Yeah.
The story is handled and it feels satisfying. But all of the ancillary stuff kind of feels like it fell apart.
Yep. And I guess it's good that they put a lot of the time for the writing and thinking of through the story and logical bits of it into the dungeon stuff, which is that was the main content, but it didn't carry over.
It really didn't.
It's like they used up everything they had. And like, wait, what's left? What did we leave? Oh shoot, we did it all. Let's go mend seagull marriage. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm just with you, but like the quest, it really was just the quest that kind of made it.
It was, and I don't want to complain about a quest because we don't get them anymore, especially big ones. And this was technically a big one.
I'll be the one to complain about quests, guys. It sucked.
I don't want to, but I have. But that's my opinion is I did not like it. I get what you're
saying though, right? It's like it really does suck to have to say that.
I agree.
just because we don't get them hardly ever anymore.
That doesn't mean we should be happy with what we do get.
But yeah, but it doesn't mean I'm going to sit here and say, oh, well, we got it. So I'm just going to be happy that we got it and not care about the quality of it.
Analyze it and be like, was that the story it deserved to be?
Yeah.
Like I said on Discord, I'm happy that they decided to make a quest and experimented with this and decided to try and make this a thing. Right. What I'm sad about is the fact that it did not work, and it felt like they didn't put enough... I mean, I hate to say they didn't put enough effort into it, because clearly they took a lot of time to try and make this happen on their own free time.
Yeah.
And I appreciate them putting that work in. But that doesn't mean that I have to just go, oh, well, you put in effort, so good job.
Yeah.
Because, I'm just a random dude who plays the game and likes to talk about it.
That's true.
And I appreciate that I even have this platform along with you guys to be able to talk about this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate having to complain about lore like this, but...
I want to see something...
There's so much great and so much really awful about
I think the hardest part is the two updates came out together, and one of them was just so much better than the other. It's like, why couldn't the one that was worse be like the one that was good writing-wise? I mean, obviously gameplay couldn't affect that.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
It was a very, very disappointing quest,
and I think
along with
the
a
number
very,
one,
very fantastic done.
The number one... So I think there was discussion in Discord about like this model of like bottle plus quests.
Yeah.
Like a lot of dialogue, and you cover like heavy lore things and stuff like that. I think that model has potential, but the number one criticism is focus. It needs to focus on a topic, not do 5.
This was a quest that needed somebody to sit down
and be like, what does this have to do with Blackstone? What is the
important story beats that we need to cover that perhaps our players don't understand fully or need more coverage on? And that's things like yogurt.
Yeah.
Tell a story piece using yogurt.
Yeah, like
tell a story piece that delves deeper into why the Dragonkin Laboratory was even a place that we went to.
Right. If you want the Halloween event to make sense, you needed to like explain it, at least explain it more, because I don't think we have enough pieces to understand what they were going for there.
Like,
and the fact it's one journal page.
I really do understand why Raven decided to basically put One of a Kind 2 in this. Mm-hmm. If he's been told, hey, you're probably not going to ever get the time or budget for years in order to tell the story you want to tell, yeah, of course I get why he wanted to try and wrap some stuff up here. But that doesn't mean that that was the best way to tell the story.
Best place to put it, yeah.
And I really do think that, especially since we're getting so few requests these days, and the budgeting for it is definitely not as strong as it could have been. I understand the desire to try and close out some stories, but I also think that they have to be done carefully. I don't want to come to the end of a story and feel really disappointed in it, like I did with Salt in the Wound, and like I did.
I was about to say, I don't know what the Salt in the Wound you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's not the end of the quest. That was the end of the series. That was a hallucination.
That
didn't happen.
Same thing here. We just went mad.
It's another thing, too, where I really feel like Jagex, as a company, should have looked at them going, hey, so I want to try and make this big quest. That's great. And they're like, sweet, go for it. That should have been an opportunity for the company to go, well, hey, you're trying to release this massive Walgothic sleep-style quest alongside this thing? You know, like, sure, they could say, well, we're trying to make an experiment, but, like, why wouldn't the company go, hey, we haven't had a quest in a while. Why don't we give you guys a nice budget and a little bit more of a team, and you guys can do some really cool stuff?
At the same time, advertising this as the second Walgothic Sleeps, right?
This wasn't advertised.
A really big, expansive, globe-trotting quest like this.
A lot of people have compared it to that. I think it's got the absolute bare bones of a Walgothic Sleeps.
Yeah. But another thing I would like to point out is that why I almost kind of blame the devs here. Why didn't they about halfway through get to a location where they go, well, hey, so we've got this kind of lame cutscene in here. Mm-hmm. Hey, Jagex, could we get some animators for a couple of days, a couple of hours, to help us make this quest better? I get that you guys are trying to go as low budget as possible here, but shouldn't we be trying to ship the best product we can here?
And
I feel like if I was in that position, I would at least try. And it doesn't like, and again, I sound like I'm being really entitled here, but like,
you're super whiny.
Yeah, I know I am. But I feel like people should, like the devs really should have tried to say, hey, what can we do to make this even better for our players? It's been a while since they've gotten a big quest. Hey, can we get a little bit more to make this better? Just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was our overview of one small of a kind.
One
small of a kind.
Two of a kind.
Two of a kind. Boogaloo, small favor. Exactly.
Yeah. It's just, it feels really bad that they are on probably one of the only series at this point that we even have the ability to speculate about.
Yeah, we know nothing coming forward in terms of content.
Exactly. Like we all remember the days of being able to speculate about pretty much anything. You know, what race is Ceridolman? Is he actually human?
Right. At this point, like, there's two things going on. Either they're closing a storyline, or they're not telling us about what the new thing is.
Right.
So we're losing things.
I just find it sad, right, that we are at this point in the game where they've closed so many storylines.
Mm-hmm.
So we have so little things to actually speculate about these days.
This is
and then we have the one that we can, and then they just kind of
I've been preaching this for 2 to 3 years. If we're gonna keep closing storylines, we need to start new ones.
We need to open more. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Everyone's like, no, but we still have 3 storylines we could finish. Like, but that's only 3 left. Then we're down to 2.
But that's only 3 left, and one of them is gnomes. Like, come on.
We need to make it like 4 or 5. There were so many days back in the day when it's like there was like 10 or 12 quest series that could be the next entry, and you didn't know which was coming next.
Well, that was because I mean, it was back in the day when
there were so many series going on.
There were no finales,
and then there was like a daunting moment of like, wait, we've made too many quest series, and there's like this rapid attempt to close off as many as possible very quickly. We're just doing finales now. That's it.
I think it's really important, like you said, to start new quest series, but it's also important to continue.
True.
Because we've had a number of quest series start, except we can't really call them series because they've only had one entry. The Death of Chivalry?
Right, for sure.
I mean, the fact that we even got a slight continuation to Ozan's story with Menaphos was shocking to me.
He was not very much a feature of Menaphos.
That's why I said a slight. Like, it was shocking that they even bothered to acknowledge him. Not that I'm, like, mocking Rowley here, because I know he really cares about his story. And not to mock Raven, because I think he really cares about the story he's written here, and Orion, and Chaosy, and everybody else.
Yeah.
But, like, it seems so rare to even see a quest continuation happen these days that isn't a 6-stage story, big gods, blah, blah, blah.
Another thing is that they've talked about so many times is, like, follow-up series to a previous series, and all we've ever seen is one quest after series with like no intention of going further, or like maybe we'll go further. Mighty Fall, The Light Within. They've talked about a Fremnik 6th stage. They've talked about a Mareki 6th stage. Yeah, this one for pirates. There's so many that have gone one quest. Heroes Welcome. They've gone one quest further and nothing else. These could be sequel series. We could have potential, but it's like a fear to start something because who knows when you'll get back to it.
Yeah. I don't know.
We've done a lot of ranting over the course of. It's been like over an hour, at least.
Yeah.
Eesh.
Yeah.
I feel kind of bad, but I feel like this. I needed to get these things out.
Well, and of course, like, seriously, play Elite Dungeon 3. I don't care if you play it in story mode. The bosses are super easy in story mode. You barely have to interact with the mechanics. I really mean it. Go play it. It's a really, really fulfilling experience, even without the bosses being uber hard in groups and all that. I highly recommend anybody that enjoys lore, go give them a shot. The mobs are not hard to roll through. There's some really great story and some really great environmental storytelling happening here. Go play it. It's amazing. I just wish that this quest had been edited a little better and designed a little better. And I understand the desire to try and, like, you know, save budget so that they can say, well, hey, here's this huge quest that we didn't have to spend a ridiculous amount of money on. But, like, man, it really pains me to have to say that something like this really disappointed me. but it did.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the dungeon. The quest did not lessen my enjoyment of the dungeon, because seriously,
Correct.
Avernic and I went into the dungeon, as you can see in our videos, and our enthusiasm level went right back.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Like, we went from there was a moment while we were playing Curse of the Black Stone where I literally went, "Is it over yet?
Please let it be over.
Please let it be over." I like groaned at one point as the next part.
It's like,
we started
go back to the
complaining
Black
during
Knight
running
Fortress.
around the Black Knight. He and I multiple times, like, I kept pointing out the whole, like, well, this will last for a couple hours, and I'm like, well, we're doing day-long trips here.
Yeah, but then you get into Elite Dungeon 3, it's like totally great experience.
Yeah.
Kudos there.
But the dungeon is amazing, and I highly recommend anybody play it, and congratulations to that team for managing to make 3 incredible raid-like experiences.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. I just wish this quest was
three really good raid-like experiences that all have pretty great story, all things considered. Like,
yeah.
You know, Elite Dungeons could have been fucking nothing. It could have been like, you know,
it could have been like
Bando
raids.
Stay yeah, like, you know, God Wars Day bosses where we had people calling corridor bandos. Actually, that still happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great thing.
And another important thing is that this is the kind of content where they find an amazing way to integrate story and PVM and win players over to play PVM and enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
do that.
And it's 9 bosses with a lot of mechanics on each. Like, they're actual bosses. They're not like pushover like DPS.
They're hard and they're cool.
They're varied. It's so great. Anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you for Elite Dungeons.
Guys, for making this. I really enjoyed the dungeon. I wish the quest was a little stronger. I feel like this is the kind of thing that could work, but it needed better editing and it needed a little bit of extra work here.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for trying. Really. I appreciate the fact that you were even willing to try this as an experiment in the first place. Mm-hmm. Thank you. And that's really all I've got to say, I think.
Yeah, I think with that we've said all that's needed to be said until whatever the next story update is. I don't know what that would be.
Well, see you guys in another 8 months.
Hopefully next month. We've got some stuff. At the very least, I'll hop on and talk about. I still really need to sit down and finish writing the scripts for our top and bottom of 2018.
It's too late for that.
I know it's March, but I'm gonna do it. It's okay. I'm gonna do it.
And what's the next team making an update?
I don't know. Actually,
is it the team that the Team Black Ops? I think it might be Days and
Possibly?
Ramen and that, because Jack and Stu just did Mining and Smithing in January, and then we just got the Judgesters this month with Elite. So I think it might be Black Ops next month.
Yeah, and we know that next month's going to contain a bunch of fire making stuff.
Oh yeah, they pushed that back, right? That's fine.
Yep.
Anyway, signing off.
Guess we're signing off.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you. Well, listening, really.
Yeah.
And
if you watch the same screen for an hour and a half, you're crazy.
I'm proud of you. If you found the hidden one frame edition that we made, good job. Comment down below if you saw it and tell us what was on it. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.